This shows how to cook proteins and vegetables with perfect crusts and absolutely no rubbery textures. We're solving the problem of steamed, gray, and dried out food right here. We'll master searing meat and seafood, browning ground beef, high-heat vegetable roasting, pan-cooking green vegetables, and finally, managing liquids for sauces and polenta. Section 1. Searing meat and seafood. To get a proper crust on whole proteins, there is an absolute requirement. You must have completely dry surfaces and high heat. Without both, your food will just steam. Pull your ribeye steak off the heat at 130 degrees Fahrenheit for medium rare, or 140 for medium. For bone-in pork chops, pull them at 140 degrees. Carryover heat will take them to 145. And listen, both require a strict 5-minute rest. If you skip this rest, the juices escape immediately onto your cutting board the second you slice into them. First, pat the meat completely dry with paper towels. Any leftover moisture prevents browning and causes steaming. Then, season generously. Next, heat a neutral oil in a heavy skillet on a high until it just begins to smoke. Place the meat in the pan and do not move it. You must listen for this audio cue. A hard sizzle confirms you've got the correct heat. Once the bottom is deeply golden, flip the meat, add butter, and continuously spoon it over the top. Before you even start cooking seafood, check your packaging. Wet-packed scallops are treated with liquid. They will never brown. They will only steam. Avoid this mistake at the store. Always purchase dry-packed scallops to get that golden crust. Pat those dry-packed scallops completely dry with paper towels and actually do this twice. Heat your oil over high heat until it just starts to smoke. Place the scallops salted side down, spaced well apart, and leave them completely untouched for 90 seconds. Now here is your critical cue. Lift one gently. If it resists, it is not ready. A properly seared scallop releases cleanly. Once it releases, flip it, add your butter, and cook for exactly 60 seconds more. This ensures the center remains slightly translucent and soft, gentle pressure. Section 2. Browning ground beef. Here, we're focusing on avoiding that extremely common gray, steamed result you see in most skillets. These exact mistakes cause ground beef to steam. Overcrowding the pan traps moisture. Stirring immediately prevents a crust from ever forming. Using lean 90-10 beef results in fast moisture loss and a tough, rubbery texture. And crucially, salting at the start draws out moisture and completely prevents browning before it can even begin. To execute this correctly, heat a wide skillet on medium-high until hot. Add your 80-20 ground beef in one even layer and leave it entirely untouched for 2 to 3 minutes. Your core visual cue here is a deep brown crust forming on the bottom. Once you see that crust, break the meat into large chunks and flip them to brown the other sides. Only break it into smaller pieces once the pink is mostly gone. Now is the time to salt the meat, right after browning is achieved. Section 3. High-heat vegetable roasting. Moving to oven techniques, a temperature of 425 degrees Fahrenheit is an absolute requirement for the proper caramelization of dense vegetables. Start by peeling and cutting sweet potatoes uniformly into 1-inch cubes to ensure even cooking. Toss them with oil and salt, then spread them out in a single layer on a baking sheet. Do not let them overlap. Overlapping causes the potatoes to steam instead of roast. Roast them for 20 minutes untouched. Once the edges start browning, flip the pieces and roast for another 10 to 15 minutes. Now notice the stark contrast with Brussels sprouts. Even a tiny amount of moisture remaining on the sprouts will cause them to steam in the oven. This completely ruins the crisping process. They absolutely must be bone dry. Trim the stem and have each sprout lengthwise, drying them thoroughly. Toss them with oil and salt and place them flat side down on the baking sheet with space between each one. Roast them for 20 to 25 minutes, completely untouched. Verify your visual cue at 20 minutes. The flat side should be deeply browned. The outer leaves might get very dark, almost black, and that is exactly correct. Section 4. Pan cooking green vegetables. We're replacing the traditional boiling method with high-heat stovetop techniques to retain their sharp bite and vibrant color. For medium-thick asparagus, snap the woody ends and completely dry the stalks. Heat your oil over high heat until it's almost smoking. Using medium heat here is a major failure point. It causes them to steam in their own moisture and go limp. Place the asparagus in a single layer untouched for 90 seconds. Then roll the stalks and cook another 60 to 90 seconds until they are bright green with brown charred spots. For green beans, follow this precise timeline. At 0 minutes, sear the dry beans in a single layer in shimmering oil. Leave them alone. At 2 minutes, the beans will visually blister and brown. At this exact point, Add exactly 2 tablespoons of water and immediately cover with a lid. Do not add more water. Adding too much water stews them instead of steaming them. At 4 minutes, remove the lid. The water should be gone. Toss the beans for 30 seconds, salt them, and serve.
Section 5, Liquids, Sauce, and Polenta. We've arrived at our final stage, managing liquids, reduction, and starches.
Do not wash the pan after cooking your meat. Washing the pan is a critical failure point. It destroys the entire foundation of any pan sauce. Those brown bits stuck to the bottom are your primary flavor base. Over medium heat, add a diced shallot to your hot meat pan and sauté for 1 to 2 minutes. Pour in your stock. It will sizzle hard, and scrape the bottom immediately to dissolve all those brown bits into the liquid. Simmer until the liquid reduces by half and coats a spoon lightly. Finally, remove the pan from the heat entirely, then swirl in the butter. Returning the pan to the heat after adding the butter will break the sauce into a greasy liquid. Before we cook polenta, let's recognize what causes it to fail. Adding polenta to cold water causes clumps that never dissolve. Pouring it all at once creates large, unmixable lumps. And leaving it on high heat without stirring scorches the bottom of the pot.
Bring 4 cups of liquid to a full boil and salt it. Reduce the heat to medium and pour 1 cup of polenta in a slow, thin stream while whisking constantly. This slow pouring prevents clumps. Next, switch to a wooden spoon and stir over low heat for 25 to 30 minutes. Your visual cue for doneness is when it pulls away from the sides of the pan and holds its shape briefly when you drag a spoon through it. Lastly, remove it from the heat and stir in your butter and Parmesan. Across all of these techniques, verification of done means the surface is deeply golden or charred, the center is soft but not dry, the correct internal temperature is explicitly reached, and the structural texture remains fully intact. The science of heat and moisture is simple, but are you applying it to every pan you touch?